afternoon, everyone. Librarian Danielle Belanger here from the Cote-Saint-Luc Public Library. Today we have another great program for you. The library is thrilled to have the opportunity to host a live conversation with two best-selling authors, Karma Brown and Melissa Stapley. Thank you both very much, Karma and Melissa, for taking the time to speak with me today from Toronto, as well as to Ruta at Penguin Random House, who helped organize this event. Thank you also to Andreas at Paragraph Bookstore for collaborating with us on this event. At the end, I'll give you the details in case you'd like to buy your own copy of Karma and Marissa's holiday rom-com online or in store with them. If you miss this, the librarian can assist you as well. We also have it at the library. Of course, it's on a wait list. So if you want to read it, put your name down for it. So to begin with, I'll share condensed bios. Karma Brown, who you can see here, is an award-winning journalist and best-selling author of 5 novels, including the #1 national bestseller, Recipe for a Perfect Wife, as well as the nonfiction bestseller, The 4% Fix, How 1 Hour Can Change Your Life. Her writing has appeared in publications such as Self, Red Book, Today's Parent, and Châtelaine. She lives just outside Toronto with her family and a Labradoodle named Fred. Melissa Stapley is a former magazine editor and the internationally best-selling author of 4 novels, Mating for Life, Things to Do When It's Raining, The Last Resort, and Lucky. Marissa's journalism has appeared in magazines and newspapers across North America, including the Globe and Mail, Toronto Star, Elle, Today's Parent, and Reader's Digest. She lives in Toronto with her family and a precocious black cat named Oscar. Maggie Knox is the pen name for writing duo Karma Brown and Melissa Stapley. Welcome, Karma, and welcome back, Melissa. Thank you so much for joining us today and speaking to me about your truly delightful holiday rom-com, The Holiday Swap.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Happy to
Thank you. So first up, Karma, can you please tell me how this collaboration with Melissa came about?
Yeah, we've had this question a couple of times now, and I think we're sort of coming to a place where we have an answer of how it probably mostly happened. It might be just a slightly embellished version, because in some ways we kind of can't remember exactly what unfolded. But it was around November 2019, and we were both in different parts of the publishing process with our own books. I was getting ready to promote my book, and Melissa was in edits with hers. And we were having a conversation about how it was isolating, working on our books, and how we sort of wished we could just maybe swap places, because Melissa really likes promotion and I really like editing. And if we could just get a break, from that isolation and that hard work of being with your own story for so long. And I don't know how we ended up saying, hey, let's write a twin swap and make it a holiday rom-com, but it was really around let's write something that's fun, that's light, because we put a lot of angst into our own books. So let's write something that's totally different from what we've done, and let's write it together. And so we decided a holiday romance could be about as far away from the types of books that we write, and we both love them. And we thought it would be fun. And then it just suddenly happened. I mean, that makes it sound like we didn't put hard work in, which we did. Of course, we were very purposeful about what we were doing, but I'm not sure how we kept the momentum going. I mean, Melissa, we tried to figure it out. It just, one thing led to another. And then we were in the pandemic, and, it became something more than just this crazy idea. It became like a goal for us to do something fun and sweet and collaborative.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, we're definitely glad you did, and I'm sure that our viewers will enjoy it if they haven't had a chance to read it yet. Melissa, I'll pass it on to you. What was your favorite part of writing this novel together?
I think we talk a lot about this too, how we both, because we do have certain parts of the publishing process and the writing process that we both enjoy more than the other person does. So I really liked the fact that I really love the drafting phase and the writing phase, and Karma really enjoys editing, which is not always my favorite. I don't hate it. I'm well aware of how necessary editing is to the writing process, and you know, some might say editing, it really is writing, and that's where the book is made. But I just love just getting in there. I'm not afraid of the blank page, just starting the writing process. But when it comes time to see the big picture, that's where I do rely on my editors. So what I really enjoy is having someone like Karma who likes looking at the big picture, who likes getting in there at that point and figuring out things that I can't necessarily see. I sometimes need a little more time than you get during when you're on an editorial schedule. You know, so for example, Karma will point out something like I had an age of our character for our new rom-com kind of wasn't quite making sense with the backstory, and she can see stuff like that. And that's something that usually happens when you're already editing or copy editing. But I really like having somebody who catches those things so that the editorial process then hopefully runs more smoothly. I'm sorry, someone's texting me that I don't have do not disturbed. All right. So I do love that. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Marissa. I noticed that there's also a French version of the book. I just came across the ebook called Cette année, on échange nos cadeaux et nos vies. Were either of you involved in the process in writing or publishing the French version as well? Since I'm here in Quebec, I'm very curious about this aspect.
We don't really have, I mean, they do send us the cover, and we get a chance to see that, but we're not really involved. I will say I speak a little bit of French, but don't make me speak French because then I'll panic and I won't get it out. But I've been able to actually read the reviews that have come in for this book that are in French. Normally I have to do the translate feature on Instagram, which is terrible, and then it makes no sense, the review that you're reading. But so that part has been nice for me to just not have to translate the reviews. But yeah, we don't, aside from cover input meaning we hope you love it,
Yes.
Here's the cover. We don't really get any say, right, about our foreign editions typically.
Okay, fair enough, no problem. Now I'd like to share a glimpse of the plot of The Holiday Swap for those listening in today. When chef Charlie Goodwin gets hit on the head on the LA set of her reality baking show, she loses a lot more than consciousness. She also loses her ability to taste and smell, both critical to her success as a show judge. Meanwhile, Charlie's identical twin, Cass, is frantically trying to hold her own life together in their quaint mountain hometown while running the family's bustling bakery and dealing with her ex, who won't get the memo that they're over. With only days until Christmas, a desperate Charlie asks Cass to do something they haven't done since they were kids: switch places. So Karma, can you please tell our audience how you and Marissa went about writing the novel together? Well, you did a little bit of this.
Yeah.
But more precisely, did each of you take on the story of one of the twins, for example, or was there a different approach to this?
We did not split the book in terms of characters. We're doing something different with this current rom-com that we're writing, where we actually did each take a character, but we're keeping it a secret which character we took, so that can be a surprise next year when it comes out. But with The Holiday Swap, we decided that we both wanted to be equally invested in the characters, in their romances, in the settings, because the two settings are quite different. And one's this cozy, small Christmas town that's very snowy and surrounded by lovely mountains. And then the other setting is really a reality baking show in LA. And so being able to really flip chapters is essentially what we did, versus characters. So there would be times where Marissa was living with Cass, for chapter 2, and I was with Charlie, and then we would switch. And it helped us to keep the voice pretty seamless between the two. But also, this was back to the question about what's great about working together is that you do have a chance to move between the characters, between the storylines, between the settings. So you're never getting weighed down by what's happening in any one place. You're like, oh, okay, today I get to go to LA and there's sunshine and the beach, and tomorrow I'm going to be back in this lovely snowy town. So that was a nice part for us too, about being able to switch back and forth with this book.
Marissa, I've come across an article where you said about your writing partnership with Karma, and I quote, "We both have a lot of energy and we are both prolific, so we knew that we would get the books written. We have a 2-book contract with Putnam, Penguin Canada, Hodder Books, with the first one titled The Holiday Swap coming out in October, that just came out, and the second one coming in 2022. So first, congratulations on signing a multi-book deal to both of you. Out of curiosity, will the second book continue where we left off with Charlie and Cass, or will it be an entirely new holiday story? Inquiring minds like mine want to know."
No, I think we feel, no spoilers, but we leave Charlie and Cass in a really good place at the end of the holiday swaps. Very satisfying. Like we think that, we don't think we'll revisit them. But this next book is called All I Want for Christmas. So we've already written it. We're in the editing phase. We describe it as Nashville, like the show Nashville meets the book The Hating Game. It's an enemies to lovers book. It's about a couple who meet on the set of a reality singing show set in Nashville, kind of an American Idol style show, but country. And their names are Max and Sadie, and they don't get along, but when they sing together, there's super steamy chemistry. So they get paired up, they agree to pretend to be a couple. They have to come together and write an original Christmas song and perform it at the Grand Ole Opry. Of course, there are all these obstacles in their way, some of them they've created, and they start to develop feelings. So it's a lot of fun, and it has all that feel good romantic Christmassy stuff that the holiday swap does, and it's got some snowy setting too that we take them off to, and then they're in Nashville, and it's got the reality show aspect, and it's a lot of fun.
Sounds great. Well, definitely looking forward to that one as well. So this one is for either of you. Let's talk about a universal premise used in the novel. Most of us have pondered at one time or another in life what it might be like to switch places with someone else, or wonder if the grass really is greener on the other side. In this novel, Cass and Charlie seem to think they can step into each other's shoes, not only without being discovered, but also maybe by doing a better job than the other at fixing certain life situations that desperately need tending to. So why the twins?
Well, I think it goes a bit back to what Karma said. Maybe that's where our heads were when we were playing with the idea, like, what if we could swap places? But I think when we started thinking about writing something that would just give us joy and pleasure, immediately the idea of a swap, like a twin swap, came up, because who doesn't love that? I mean, like Parent Trap, I just love a good swap, whether it's a twin swap or just an identity swap. So and then the other thing is, we were doing an interview yesterday, and the interviewer was saying, we do a good job of keeping the tension up, and both stories have a lot going on, but that's kind of the joy of a swap, is that immediately just the fact that you've switched places with someone, it causes tension, and it's fun for when you're writing a rom-com, because there's opportunities for things to get a little bit absurd and silly. And so I think we thought that we would have fun with that, and we did, and I think readers are having a lot of fun with it too, so that's good.
Definitely. I loved how the character of Charlie was confident and free-spirited, as well as ambitious and career-driven. From an outsider's perspective, her life seemed glamorous, and she seemed to have it all figured out. It's not until Cass steps into Charlie's life that the less appealing aspects of her day-to-day life become more apparent, like the miserable commute to work in Los Angeles and her slimy co-host of her reality cooking show. So would one of you like to elaborate on this a little bit?
Well, I mean, I think that does go back to the swap again. Like, you don't necessarily have perspective on your life and what you're doing and where you are. And I think you can get really bogged down by ambition. And there's truth in both of these characters. I mean, we are fiction authors. We do not, even though we write women in all our books, they are not us. There may be pieces of us or pieces of our past or experiences or thoughts we've had in those characters. And I think that's probably true for Charlie and Cass as well. Like, there are elements, I mean, I love to bake, but not bread. And Marissa doesn't bake, but she went through a bit of a sourdough starter obsession that, through the pandemic was baking and giving starter away. And so, that idea of gaining perspective. And when Cass moves into Charlie's shoes, and you see the less shiny parts of her life, and then Charlie's able to go home and also see how maybe Cass was held back a bit by her life that she had settled in, but they also are able to explore different parts of their personalities by being in those other environments. So they really do grow. I mean, they kind of get to keep the stuff that really works for them, and they figure out the pieces of their life that they want to change by doing that swap, which I think is also what's so intriguing about a swap idea, right? It's that idea of like going into someone else's life and then maybe being able to retain or learn parts of it that really work for you and you could take back to your own life. So I don't know if I answered the question, but that was that's probably just gaining the perspective. I think, they had that, we have that in our life, and it's a fun trope to play with, I think, in this genre.
Agreed.
Definitely. I think you two did a great job. And I like the fact that as a reader, you do feel like both of them grew from the beginning till the end of the novel. They definitely gained something, each of them, by living in the other one's life.
Yeah. For only a week, right? Only a
yes,
week. I mean, this is the other funny thing about rom-coms. Like, all of this happens over 12 days, which that's not real life, but that's what makes it fun.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell us a little bit about the idea of the 12 days leading up to Christmas and the reality baking show and how this tied in?
The book was actually called 12 Days for the longest time. Like, we just changed it to the holiday swap because we wanted it to be very clear that it was a holiday book and all of that. But I think, gosh, I mean, it's hard to remember. I think that was just when we came up with the structure. So we had to outline the book in advance. I think that's an important part of working with a co-author. As far as we are concerned, you can't, I'm not necessarily a plotter in this way with my own books, but you can't really work with someone where you're just like, I don't know, we'll figure it out as we go along. Like, I couldn't even imagine I don't know what would happen. Something terrible. It would be bad. But we outlined it, and I think we were thinking so much about structure up front that 12-day structure, 12 days Christmas, that it felt festive and also manageable because we knew it needed to be tight. So that's how we came up with that. And then the reality baking show. I mean, Karma, you had
I was
some
obsessed
past
with that.
book. You were obsessed with it, but like you'd had a past book where somebody got hit on the head and lost their sense of smell. Who
their
was
sense
a
of
chef.
smell. Yeah.
But then I guess the reality, I don't remember. I guess, yeah, you were like, I'm obsessed with the
I was obsessed with Zumbo's
Right.
just desserts, or that's, I think, what it's called. He's like an Australian super chef. And then there were these contestants on, and they were making these magical, amazing things. And of course, mostly they were failing because they're put in these ridiculous situations. But we watched a lot as a family. And I thought it's such a perfect backdrop for, to add a lot of tension. Like, TV and a reality baking show, they're pretty cutthroat, even though you don't necessarily think they might be. So I think, just like Marissa was like, we will have sourdough in this book. I was like, okay, we will have a reality baking show. We just put some of the things that we really like personally, some of the desserts, like, there is a lot of us in that story, just in little tiny details, but
The
you know,
things
that's
we
one
love,
of the
right?
joys. Yeah, the things we love. Yeah.
Mhm.
There's a lot of great baking in this book. I'm not a baker yet, personally, haven't attempted it, but a lot of the mentions of different recipes in the book made me think, oh, I'd like to try this recipe. And I've read a few reviews of people asking, please, can these authors publish the recipes? Do you have recipes to some of the items mentioned in the book?
Not really.
No, and I think, well, so we were asked that by our editors as well, but I was saying yesterday, Karma was asked to do this for Recipe for a Perfect Wife. It's a lot of, it's a challenge for many reasons you mentioned, but um, it can be tricky when we aren't chefs. We actually aren't. So if we were to develop recipes, we just had a terrible feeling. I mean, I definitely was like, oh no, something would go awry. And then even with my sourdough, I'm sure at this point you've looked online or seen like people are posting about their sourdough and they're like 0.25 grams of flour and it's very specific.
Yeah.
And I don't do that. I really just do it all by feel. So if to have to write down exactly what I do, I couldn't guarantee that it would 100% work. So we get a lot of wonderful messages from readers, but when you publish a recipe that doesn't work for them, they're not always
Yeah.
so thrilled.
Yes.
So
And I've had
no.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That happened with my book too. I mean, they're all real recipes, but some of them are vintage recipes, and things like ovens are different.
Yeah.
If you bake, you understand that where you live really affects, and the season affects it because of the humidity. And so also, like Marissa said, we are not chefs. And I have a friend who's a chef who has done a couple of cookbooks, and the recipe development phase, I mean, not only does she understand how ingredients work together and what is required and what happens when you apply heat and when you apply like a leavener. And for us to do that, we would have to take on a serious education, because recipes get tested 25 times, and that's by experts. So I don't know, we were like, no, these are all fictional. Some of them are based on real life recipes we have from our families, but nothing. You're not going to find us putting out a recipe book.
No problem.
Ever, I don't think.
Another aspect to the novel, which I have here, The Holiday Swap, that I really loved. Personally, I'm a cat person, so of course I lean towards the cat, but the cat and dog story integrated into the book. Would one of you like to share a little bit about that, how you were able to weave it through the storylines?
I think that's again just us putting the things that we loved into the book. I believe the cat. I'm the cat person. Well, I love all animals, but I have my cat, and Karma has her dog. So I think we were kind of like, oh, we gotta get this hot firefighter back to the bakery. And then I was like, oh, there's a cat, and then the cat goes up the tree, and that's the deep pleasure of writing a rom-com, is that in any of our other books you'd be like, oh my god, a cat up a tree, like that's just ridiculous, that's so cheesy. But we were like, oh, this is so perfect. So the Gâteau was born, and I loved that because then I could kind of channel my love of my own little black cat, who does love sandwich meat, and that's bad because he shouldn't eat that. But so, and then I think it just balanced out with, Karma has her dog who she loves, and we thought about what we would love in a guy, and him being a dog lover and having a dog, and plus again having a dog, a rescue dog, yeah, makes it, but also opportunities for the dog to jump on her, and different cute little funny things that would happen, that having pets, it just really worked. And I think our editors were like, this really does work. And when we first sold the book, our first editor was saying there was a book, some sort of Christmas book that was about two people who fall in love at a pet rescue. And we were like, that sounds great. Like, it just works with.
So as I was reading this novel, I was definitely getting glimpses of a W holiday movie. Do either of you watch a lot of these types of movies? Do you think that this could eventually be turned into a movie or a holiday special?
Well, we hope so. I mean, I do enjoy when it's December 1st and I have carols on 24/7 in my car. and I'm wrapping presents, or I pretty much solidly watch a lot of holiday romances. I love them, and it's just they're always happy. You know what you're going to get. Who doesn't love? I love Christmas, especially before Christmas. By the time Christmas comes, I'm usually like, "Ooh, okay, ready for January 1st now," because there's so much to it. But yeah, we were both fans. I think that was, and I think I just started watching a bunch of holiday romances when we first started talking about this. It was almost Christmas, right, Marissa? And I was like,
November, yeah. And I do. I mean, I don't have a lot. I find at Christmas, that's the one time of year where we both really just set some time boundaries and say, okay, we're really taking time off. And that means for me too, sometimes I'm watching TV or movies that are research related, but there's nothing more pleasurable than those Christmas movies. So, and when you can just zone out and take in something that you know is going to have a happy ending, and we do love that, and we really wanted to create that. So we did.
So this book has been described by some as a clean romance. Did you do that on purpose? Did you think of a steamier angle to this novel?
No, it was always meant to be clean.
Okay.
We talked.
Didn't Charlie and Jake didn't at one point?
Okay, so
and then we cut that.
But it was off the page. So I mean, I think we always intended it to be Hallmark level, gentle in terms of the sexy time stuff. And so we set out to just keep it sweet and clean, and anything that's happening is happening off the page. But there was one point where I think in an earlier draft, Charlie and Jake had gone home together, and it happened off the page. It was clear that they had spent the night together, but you didn't see any of it. But then we had to cut it because it was just too, we decided that they could not be getting that close in the 12 days. I mean, I think they did really, Marissa, but we just didn't put it in there, right? They all got busy in those 12 days. It's not on the page.
Didn't put it. But our next book, they know each other for a year, and they're very attractive, famous people. So there's more stuff that happens. They're always in hotel rooms. Like it just eventually,
but it's not. It's still gentle.
Still pretty wholesome, but but it didn't make sense. Like at that point, I think you'd be reading something like that and going,
"There's no way."
Is so unreal that they wouldn't.
Yes.
So in the book, Charlie does have a concussion. And some readers have said, "Oh my God, Charlie didn't take this seriously enough," which I think works well in the storyline. Did you consider that? Were you kind of treading carefully around that whole idea?
I think this is why we don't read our Goodreads reviews anymore, because they're not real.
True.
We talked about this yesterday too, and we are well aware that concussions are quite serious.
Yes,
they are. But I think we feel that we take liberties in the world of a rom-com where nothing really is quite as serious as it seems. So, but we also did quite a bit of research and caught little things, and we wanted to make sure that it wasn't totally outside of the realm of possibility that these things could happen. But we were aware, yes, Charlie did not take it seriously, and in the real world there could be serious repercussions to what she did. But lucky for us, it's a rom-com. So
and that's also Charlie's personality. Like, she probably wouldn't take it seriously because she was, she had a week to make all of these things happen, and she felt really like her entire career was hanging in the balance. And so she would have made decisions probably that were not great for her. And there are some repercussions, right? Like there are some things that happen in the book where you can see the effects of the concussion playing out for her. But yes, we know, we do know concussions are highly serious.
Yes.
But again, it's fiction and it's a rom-com. And so it's not a book about concussions.
Okay. I really enjoyed the fact that the two sisters are bakers and that they approach baking completely differently. So, how did you go about giving them not only their own personalities, but their own baking styles?
Yeah, I mean, I think we really thought about what their different interests were, and that was a way to help us set them apart from each other. So we created that backstory for Charlie, where she left Starlight Peak behind, and she went and was trained as a pastry chef. Whereas for Cass, she just wanted to stay home, and she perfected the familiar recipes, and she was a talented baker in her own right, but she was doing things that were familiar and making them unique. So I think we just that was our way of making them, of because twins can kind of blend together, and we didn't want we wanted the book to be seamless, but we wanted the twins to have their own personalities, so that the difference in their styles was a big part of that. But it also really helped us with creating problems for them when they swapped lives, because as talented as Cass is, she could not create some of these desserts that Charlie would have no problem with. So it created some very high stakes drama with baking, kind of like Zumbo. So,
Yeah.
and then same thing, back at home, even though this used to be familiar to Charlie, it highlighted how far she had left her home life behind, because she was just swimming in completely unfamiliar waters in many ways.
Mhm.
So we do have sort of the sense with the two sisters that one kind of stayed home and helped the family, and then one moved away. And as a reader, you sort of have your own preconceptions about that. And I think it helps when they swap for each of them to understand the other sister and where she's coming from and why she made the choices that she did.
Yeah, we agree with that. I think that was really
Yeah.
what we were trying to do there.
So how did you come up with the two? I think it's great that there are not only like there isn't one romance story, there's two romances at the same time in the same book, one for each of the sisters. So how did the two love interests sort of come about? How did you create them?
Again, back to the origin story of the love interest, I'm not entirely sure. When we approached this book, we really thought about the things that we love in romance, in holiday romance in particular. And, it's not, we almost had a checklist of the things that we really wanted to make sure we included so that we could hit the tropes that people love. We could make sure that the things were in there that really put the signposts that this is a holiday romance, you're getting what you're here for. Because also we've not written this type of book before. And so we approached it, I think, a little bit scientifically is not the right word, but with some intention about what we wanted to put in. And so for us with the characters, we did do a little of the, small town firefighter who has a rescue dog. He's sort of a little bit rugged, but he has this really sweet side to him. Okay, perfect. This is the perfect small town romantic interest. And then with Miguel, we wanted to do, have a relationship that was sort of like the opposite of that. It's a much more metropolitan area. There's more diversity in his character, and they're quite different men. I think that was a big part for us too, right? They had to be really different.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do you have anything else to add to that, Marissa? I feel like we just.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think, again, it's just like, we were like, what do we love? And then it's like, well, I mean, everybody, I don't know. People like firefighters. I think we're no different. It's just, and actually, I think a friend of mine had just started dating a firefighter. And I was like, I'll go over and ask her what that's like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I guess with Cass too, or with Charlie at first, it was who was going to cross her path. So I think it just kind of made sense. I think it was very important to the story that it be either the doctor or physician assistant. And then it just so happens that, there's the whole Grey's Anatomy thing. And that too is a really kind of romantic concept that people can immediately go, yes, okay.
And it worked well.
Yeah.
with him having a medical background, because of course Cass doesn't have a concussion, but he thinks Cass is Charlie. And so he is, it allowed them to have that piece of tension all the way through that storyline too. So
So at some point in the book, I won't name names, but one of the sisters does sort of injure herself, and the other one feels it physically. Did you do a bit of research about that in twins?
You just kind of, I mean, a little bit, but there's no real scientific evidence. We've certainly looked, and there's a lot of anecdotal evidence of that. But I think, and I have cousins who are identical twins, and I think that was also more just something that really worked for our story, something that we felt twins can feel. I mean, I really do think we did. There was some article that we read or shared with each other that was like twins feeling these things, but then, it was more just part of the magic of the story. But really important too, because we wanted to connect them at that point, and it's an important point of the story for them to be connected, but they're not together for much of the story, and we needed their connection to be still on the page. So that's why we did that. Okay. I don't think it really happens, but maybe.
Well, I did a bunch of research. I mean, I had identical twins in a story that never came to be. So I had done some research on identical twins, like maybe 2 years or something before we started writing this. And there's a lot of anecdotal stuff around that they experienced illness at the same time, and there's a lot of really like wild and crazy things with identical twins that gives them that sort of magical, special feel. So, but yeah, I mean, it's fiction, and you take liberties to suit your story as well and suit your characters.
So in this story, I would say that to both of the twins, Christmas is an important time of year that they like to spend with their family. They're looking forward to their parents coming home and all being together. Is this something that's important to both of you as well? Marissa was saying earlier that she does, I think it's Marissa who said she tries to set some time aside to really be with the family around the holidays and leave other things outside.
Yeah, I mean, I think we both love Christmas. I think we both are very, very family oriented, and I think we're busy authors, but we do work from home. We both have kids and pets, and Christmas for us is just like it's an important time. I love Christmas.
We never really, I mean, writers and authors are always working. You're always working. Even when you're not working on the page, you're working your book in your head, and or finding a piece of research, or finding a detail that you can stick in. And so it is like that natural time to put boundaries around your work, like Marissa said. And because we have kids, they add also boundaries to your life, because you can't just work nonstop with kids around. But yeah, Christmas is fun. It's a nice time to all the carols, and I love eggnog, and I don't know. You don't like eggnog?
No, I don't. I can't believe we never talked about this. I feel sick just thinking.
I have a carton already in my fridge right now that I put in my coffee in the morning. And my daughter loves eggnog too, so I have passed it. My husband thinks it's disgusting, but I have passed it along to my daughter, so I feel proud.
I feel like both of the twins in this holiday story are strong female characters. Can you talk a little bit about that and how it was important to portray that?
It really was. And I think I would comment to Karma, or she to me sometimes, that we were just doing that. That wasn't actually something that we had to discuss or set about doing. If we ever veered into territory where it kind of looked like they were going to lose their power, or the guy was going to swoop in and save her, we would go, no, like one of the sisters can do that. And that's just how we roll, I think. So, and that's another reason why our work fits well together. We didn't have to fight for that. I think in many ways, again, coming down to putting things we love that. We love reading something, and even if it is more where women, romances are not always known for female empowerment, but we love reading ones that are. So we were never going to write anything different.
Mhm. One of the aspects of the story that I also enjoyed was when Cass had stepped in as Charlie and was not really amused that she had to wear these outfits that really kind of put her body on display, while her co-host was wearing a professional kind of a chef outfit, and they're both chefs. I liked how it seemed to take the other sister to realize like something was kind of wrong with this picture.
Yeah.
I
Again, I
noticed
think
that on Zumbo, by the way, Karma, when I watched it because of you, and I was like,
That's-
he's
yeah.
so serious. And then that other, whoever the female chef was,
Yeah,
had her cute little outfits.
that was exactly what
Mhm.
I thought of when we started with that, because I have watched so much Simbos, and he is in his chef whites looking very, dapper and professional. And his co-host, who is a Parisian trained chef, pastry chef, and an amazing, artist, was wearing these quite beautiful ball gowns, but she was always done up to the nines. And I just thought, like, why is she in maybe that was her choice. And so let's say that maybe it was her choice on Zumbos. And so we can say, okay, because if it's your choice and that's how you want to do it, then I'm okay with that. But we really wanted to highlight that because, that happens in so many different ways between men and women, especially in situations where the power should be equal, but it doesn't always end up being that way. So yeah, that was on purpose. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you so much, Marissa and Karma. I think that there are questions from the audience, so let me just take a look. Okay, so we have a question from Carolyn. The holiday season is all about pairings, wine and cheese, cookies and milk. What should we pair with your book to enhance the reading experience?
Ooh, eggnog, if you're going to listen to Karma, which is fine.
Eggnog in a coffee, I would say. And Charlie is not a drinker, so that might be something that she would enjoy.
I mean, we've written it, so we're so familiar with the food and everything, but I know, for example, when I'm watching Gilmore Girls and they're always eating or anything, or Zumbo, I do want to have a nice treat or snack. So I would recommend be prepared, like make sure you have some cookies or brownies, or because it would kind of suck to be like, oh gosh, that amazing cupcake sounds incredible, and then you go to your cupboard and all you have is the Halloween candy that nobody wanted.
Yeah,
right? That's not.
Yeah, get some good treats. Yeah.
Another question that came in is, other than the holiday swap, what books are must reads for around the holidays, according to each of you? It can be children, adult, anything.
Okay, this is one of those questions that I'm never prepared for, and I should, because the moment anyone asks me for book recommendation, it's gone.
Okay, and Karma, I keep meaning to tell you this, that Jean Meltzer, is that her name, who wrote the Matzo Ball?
Yes,
she got
I have
in
it
touch
and haven't
said
read
that
it.
we are the whole reason she saw our deal, and she was like, I gotta write my book. So she kind of credits us with giving her.
I haven't read it yet. I want to.
I haven't read it yet either. And I have another one that I read.
It's called the Matzo Ball. That one. And it looks amazing. So that would be a good recommendation.
We are never prepared, are we?
We are never prepared for these questions. And I can't even start Googling. I don't know. If we think of anything, we could probably post a few ideas to Maggie Knox's Instagram account.
Holly Jolly Diwali. And I mean, and we really like Josie Silver, and we enjoy that kind of thing. And I loved that book, Let It Snow, by John Green and various other authors, in that movie. And then, I mean, just turn on the Hallmark Channel or W Network and have a nice, just enjoy.
They've begun already. They started in late October, so the movies are playing already.
We just don't have time. I mean, this is also part of the problem, is that we are currently editing our next book and we're promoting this one. And so I can't wait until I can watch a holiday romance midday when there's no one around. My daughter's at school, my husband is at work, and no one to interrupt me while I sip my eggnog coffee and settle right into the holiday spirit. But yeah, we'll try to put some recommendations up. It's probably a good idea to do that.
Thank you so much, ladies. That's all the questions we have for today. I really appreciate both your time, and I love the book. So
Thank
definitely
you.
for those listening in, The Holiday Swap is a great holiday rom-com that will get you in the mood for Christmas and spending time with family and baking and everything that's sugar and spice. So definitely enjoy that. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks.